So it's truly good to see everybody here tonight in a little different format than a city council meeting where we have to be very structured and our time is limited to respond to citizens' questions and have some open discussion. And so we've been wanting to do this for some time, but for obvious reasons it's been difficult to do because of the COVID situation. So we're really happy to have everybody here that has shown up. We have intentionally kept our agenda, our part of the agenda, extremely light. We'll start with, in a few minutes, I'll give about a 10, 12, 15 minute at the most, kind of an overview of some of the high points of what is going on in the city, kind of where we are post-COVID, almost post-COVID, hopefully post-COVID. And then each of the council members will speak very briefly on some of the things that they think are important that's going on, but we are going to keep our comments very brief because we wanted to allow as much time as possible for your questions, your input, for us to have some back and forth. We do have a 2-minute time limit on speakers. However, I see that we have a very small group today, so we'll be a little more flexible on the 2 minutes if you can't finish your point, unlike a council meeting where we have to be a little more rigid. So if we have good dialogue, we'll try to keep the format as relaxed as possible. Let's see, what else do I need to say? I guess that's it, right? Oh, there are pink sheets if you wish to speak in the back of the room. If you know already that you have a topic you'd like to discuss, pass these up. However, having a small group enables us to be a little fluid too. So if there's a topic that comes up that you didn't think ahead of time, but now you have a thought on that topic, we'll probably be able to just raise your hands and be recognized. The only thing I do ask, and I know just about everybody here that I don't think this is going to be an issue, but I do ask that we let one person talk at a time and that we're respectful. So, you know, Troy, don't jump up in the back of the room and start yelling at David or somebody like that. So. And before I lose my total train of thought, I do want to acknowledge somebody very special to all of us, a very long-time city resident, Jack Ritter, who is having a birthday today. So so we all want to wish you a very happy birthday, Jack. Council members, are we good to go?
I think so.
Are we good? Okay. So, where are we? And I'll keep this very brief. Set the timer, please. So, set the timer. No, I'm not kidding. I don't want to go over 15 minutes. I'm serious. A couple things. I don't know really what's important to you, so I'll be very brief and just cover things. Just said it once. I'll be brief and just kind of gloss over a lot of things at a very high level, and that way if you want to follow up with questions and you want to take a deeper dive into something, we can do that at the questions. So I don't know what's important to you, so I won't go real in depth. A few things. The biggest thing is the redevelopment. Everybody wants to know what's going on in the redevelopment area. Well, as you can see, things are happening down there. Buildings are up. The apartments will probably start being rented, at least one building on the south side, in September is kind of their target. The retail, the other building, the one on the north side, is about 60 days behind. That was by design because they'd work on this one first and then they'd move to the north one. So it's kind of how the project was intended. The retail space will probably start to see things opening up in there at the same time. I would expect September. I don't know when you'll see the full thing occupied, but you should start to see businesses opening in there in September. As you know, there are a few parcels still remaining down there. The one just south of the retail space is probably the most attractive of those. That's right there in the center. That is still on the market. And we all are operating under the assumption that once the apartments are occupied and the other retail space fills up, that will become very attractive for the next purchase. There's also the old Curry Bowl restaurant. That's another parcel that is still on the market. That one has not gotten as much attention as the others, but I think it will once things start to happen. Momentum builds momentum, right? So the redevelopment is going well. Amazon, everybody wants to know about Amazon. Amazon is probably going to open in August. That's a very short turnaround on that for a building of that size. So you'll see Amazon open in August. On the COVID, let me talk about how we did with COVID. We actually did very well from a city perspective. It was a terrible personal toll for some of our residents. But from a city financial perspective, we did much better than many of us had feared. The council, city manager, we were very concerned that we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know what the future was going to bring. We didn't know if the tax base was going to fall out. We didn't know what unemployment was going to do. We didn't know. So we did see some effects. We lost somewhere in the vicinity of $2 million in lost revenues. And you say, well, how come the mayor doesn't have the exact number? Well, it depends on how you calculate it. That number's a little more slippery than it seems. But in the neighborhood of $2 million in lost revenues that we expected to take in, gas taxes, sales tax, bed tax, those kinds of things that we didn't take in. So we did suffer a hit, but not nearly the hit that we were worried about, right? It's also important to remember that about $300 million in federal CARES Act money came to Hillsborough County for several relief programs, rent relief, utilities relief, people that needed help with all kinds of assistance. That money came to the county, but it was dispersed to residents and businesses all throughout the county, including within the 3 cities. So we didn't get that $300 million directly, but some of our businesses and residents did were recipients of some of that money. And we were involved in advocating for some of our residents and businesses to get some of that, and the county was very receptive to us. They were very good about that. So we also received, the city did, $3 million roughly in CARES Act money that went to offset some of our expenses, which was a tremendous asset because we were taking a big hit in plexiglass and all the modifications you see to City Hall and to this building and to the rec center. We paid for all that, and we were worried, okay, we're down $2 million. We spent $3 million in building renovations. Now we're down effectively $5 million. Well, we did get $3 million of CARES Act money to reimburse us for that. So some of what you see here has been paid for by some of that money. If you go to the rec center, if you go to City Hall, you see the new doorways and entryways. We were reimbursed by federal CARES Act money for that, up to $3 million. So that was a good thing. In addition to that, we are slated to get $11.2 million in American Rescue Plan Act money also. Now, that's exciting, right? When we heard that, we were excited. But it's exciting with an asterisk, okay? Because of a couple things. One is that there's very narrow stipulations on how that money can be spent. We can't just spend it on anything. And 2 is we have a deadline of the end of 2024 to spend it. So the types of things it can be used for are infrastructure projects, job creation, construction projects for utilities, those kinds of things, which we need to do, and that's good. Creates jobs, it circulates money in the community, but keep in mind that every city and county in the country is doing the same thing. So it's going to be kind of difficult to get paving contractors, utility contractors to be available to do this work by the end of 24. We are still finalizing our plan for how to spend that $11.2 million. Part of it, we can recoup the $2 million in lost revenue. So that will plug that hole, and then whatever's left over, we can put into capital construction projects. So more to come on that. Transportation is a priority of mine. I think most of the council members, many of us are involved in different boards and so forth that involve transportation. I sit on the Transportation Planning Organization, formerly the MPO. Council member Schistler's on the HART board. Council member Chambers is on the Regional Planning Commission. So we all are different roles. Transportation is a priority for us. I've worked very closely with the TPO, Hillsborough County, Florida Department of Transportation to be a strong advocate for some transportation projects in the Temple Terrace area. not just the area, within our city, okay? Some of those are coming to fruition, but not as fast as I wish, right? So Fowler Avenue is due for complete renovation between 275 and I-75. But it's in two phases. The first phase is from 50th Street to 275. The second phase is from 50th Street east to I-75. City manager and I both advocated for a long time to try to get those phases reversed so that we would become phase one, and that would, other end would become phase two. We were unsuccessful, but not because people are being mean to Temple Terrace. We don't have the data to support it. They have more fatalities, more injury crashes, more pedestrian accidents on the phase one stretch than we do on the phase two. So FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, said, look, we don't have a justification to reverse this, right? They're kind of, I mean, I don't have the data to argue that, so I can't. The project's coming. It's not coming as fast as I wish it was, but it's coming. 56th Street from Fletcher Avenue to I-4 is also due for renovations. That project, the studies are underway. We've been to a couple kickoff meetings here recently. Their studies are underway now. Bullard Parkway / Temple Terrace Highway is also slated. That's a county road from Bush to the east. That is slated also. There's a Vision Zero study being conducted by the county. That study, I don't think it's kicked off yet. Has it? I don't think it has. It's on the books, but it hasn't kicked off yet, but it's coming, right? Baked into all of these projects for all of us is a priority to enhance multimodal capabilities, bicycle, pedestrian, golf carts, particularly between here and USF, right? But we're also trying to connect Temple Terrace via multimodal trails, bike trails and so forth to USF and to the Green Spine Trail, which will take you to downtown Tampa, right? And also east of here, there's a trail that will go along the bypass canal eventually and connect you to the Florida Trail. So we're trying very hard, and we're successfully trying. These plans are moving forward to connect Temple Terrace, not just building our own standalone bike trails, but to connect to this network that will take people to USF, to Tampa, and beyond. Right? So that's where we're working on transportation. Finances. How are the city's finances doing? We're actually doing very well. I talked a little bit about the COVID hit and some of, so we're doing very well. We're in budget season right now. We're all working very hard on the budget. Some good news and bad news, mostly good. Our taxes are good. Your property taxes are doing well, right? I mean, I can't promise this because we haven't voted on it yet, but I don't see any reason to believe that property taxes are going up. I don't see any, we've had no discussion about that even being a possibility. So I don't think your property taxes are going up. Will they go down? It's too early for me to predict. I don't know, but I don't think they're going to go up, right? That's good news. The capital program, we have a 5-year capital improvement program that we add a 5th year every year. We're doing very well with that. We're on track. We've not had to disrupt that. And that's good because during the recession, we did have to disrupt it. And what happens with that is you just kick all that down the road. For instance, if you have to put off buying a garbage truck for $400,000 because you don't have the money, you say, well, we'll just put it down a year. Well, then we put it down another year, and then we get to year 3, and we no longer need 1 garbage truck. Now we need 4, right? So it's important to keep the capital improvement program going, and we're doing that right now. We're able to. Debt relief, the redevelopment debt, the biggest anchor around the city's neck. We're doing very well. We restructured the debt again because of the low interest rates. We took an opportunity. We saved about $750,000 by refinancing again. We have used every single penny that's come from the sale of the land in the redevelopment area towards paying down the debt. Every penny that comes in from the sale of land goes directly to the note. Right? We don't keep any of it. So we're on track for our debt relief. I think, what do we have, like 16,000 or 16 million, I think is what about? Yeah, I think it's 14. Okay, yeah. So we're doing really good with that. still a lot of money, but we're on track. We're doing good. Our reserves are good. We have met our targets for reserves. In fact, the council voted recently to up the threshold, our target for reserves on hand again. So we're doing very well with reserves also. We're not depleting reserves. In fact, we're adding to them. So we're doing very good. There is a dark cloud in the budget. I have to be fair to tell you this. There is a dark cloud. Actually, there's two dark clouds. And one concerns your water rates. Now, we don't have this fully worked out yet, but we are facing some troubles with your water and sewer rates, and it is very likely that we will vote to increase them. We don't know by how much. The reason for that is not our fault. It's not the city's fault. It's not that we're socking away money or spending it on gold line sewer pipes or something like that. The reason is very simple, and that is that the city of Tampa, who treats our wastewater, right, is upping their rate. And what we do, the wastewater plant right down the road here takes all of our wastewater and pumps it to the city of Tampa, and we pay a per gallon fee for them to take our wastewater and treat it. Their fees for treating that wastewater are going up 5% every year for the next 20 years. Their plan is to increase the fees for the treatment of wastewater by 100% over the next 20 years. So we have a cap by ordinance that we can't increase your water fee per year over. We can't increase it that much. We're not allowed to. We tied our own hands a few years ago with an ordinance that says we can't do that. So we're trying to figure out now what is the minimum increases that we can do over time to absorb, to pass these costs through to you so that we don't deplete the fund. You're probably looking at some water increases. Sanitation, the same thing is happening. Our trash does not go to the landfill. Our household garbage in Temple Terrace goes to the incinerator on Falkenberg Road, which is owned and operated by Hillsborough County. They charge us $61.54, I believe it is, per, who knows that? Ray and I know that, right? Per ton, it's called a tipping fee. When we take the garbage trucks there and dump them, they weigh the truck, and it's $61.54 a ton is what we pay to dispose of our garbage. That's going up October 1st, 14%. 14%. It's going to $70 a ton. Well, folks, these are hard costs. These aren't things that we're making up. So there's probably going to be some increases there too. Now we're looking at options. Can we tier this in? Can we gain a little ground each year over a 3 or 4 year period to keep from being a big hit? We're looking at different things to try to keep this as low as we can. But if you hear about this in the future, and you probably will over the next couple of months, please don't bring your pitchforks to the city council meeting. We're just passing along fees that we can't control, right? So more to come on that. That's the dark cloud. The rest of it is pretty good. That's the dark cloud. So let me end on a high note. I did, because I don't want to leave you like that, right? Sherry's got to talk next. I don't want you all depressed when she talks, right? So I did just on a, I hadn't had a chance to tell the council this yet. I had a conversation with the CEO of Visit Tampa Bay yesterday, Santiago, nice guy. And they have plans to come here. You know, they do these promotional videos for Tampa, for the region. They show Busch Gardens and the restaurants in Ybor City. Well, they're coming here to Temple Terrace, and they're going to include us in one of their upcoming videos. So I talked to him. I says, I watched these promotional videos, and it just, our golf course is missing. And he goes, I know. And so they're coming here to include us, and Plant City also. So that's good news, right? Good news. Okay, I'm going to let the vice mayor talk for a couple of minutes. They're each going to do just a couple of minutes each, and then we're going to open it up to you folks.
Boy, it's really hard to follow that, but he did so well. But I'm here to talk about, I'm going to tag team on what he was talking about, because what he was talking about are all those issues that are important to us: our water, our sewer, our garbage, our day-to-day operations, right? Well, and that's what we do. You elected us to speak for you and the things that are important to you. And so we are connected with the Florida League of Cities. And so tonight I'm here to invite you to join the Army and help us. Because when the citizens of the state of Florida voted over 50 years ago on a rule called Home Rule, and that says that local voices are the ones who should decide how to handle local issues. We're not quite sure what's happened, but in the last, I'd say 4 to 5 years, our legislators in Tallahassee have decided, and before I start, I have true respect for anyone who takes on the job of representing us in Tallahassee. So I'm not mad at any of them. I'm just trying to figure out why they have decided in so many different areas that they can decide for us. And let's just talk about a couple of things that those issues have been. Short-term rentals. Anybody live in a neighborhood that all of a sudden there's a party house in your neighborhood? We no longer have the authority to handle that for you. So when you come to city council and you say, hey, what are you going to do about this? Boy, we really hate to say nothing. There's nothing we can do. But I'm here to register you to join in the voices. There's a yellow board back there, and it has quite a bit of information about how you can sign up. And what you will get is an email that says, hey, here's an issue that's important for home rule. And hopefully you will get, you'll write an email to the legislator and say, I live on this street and this isn't a good thing for me. I don't want you to vote this way. And plus, I want you to respect home rule. And last but not least, I brought along this little booklet here. It's called The City That Talks. Now, last year we weren't able to go into the schools and to read this story. But I will tell you that when I would go to the classrooms and read the story, and I would explain to them that your taxes pay for your teacher, your fireman, your police officer, the garbage man, the librarian, and of course then they would look at the teacher and she was looking at me like, keep talking, keep talking. So anyway, please take a minute. There's a sign-up form in the back. You can take it with you. And there's I'll have the website for you so that you can get signed up. And then please write to your legislators because they've been hearing from us, but they need to hear from you. Thank you.
The mayor has done a very good job in presenting the status of the state of the city report. If I may clarify one thing, millage rates are not going up. Can't promise your property taxes won't go up. If your property values went up, it may go up. I don't want anybody coming back saying that you told us it wasn't going to go up. The millage rate's not planning on going up. But everything else is very, very accurate. I just want to touch a couple of issues, a couple of items. Everything's looked pretty good with the city, financial, redevelopment, all in all. But there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you may or may not know about. And these are boards that we all serve upon. I know everybody here serves on different ones. I serve on a couple of different ones. One, I'm on the audit committee, and we help to ensure that the audits are done well and that the finances are done well. And so far, so good. Everything's been working smoothly. I also work with the country club. And this last 2 years, we've been very successful in helping maintain financial stability with them because they do owe us quite a bit of money, which everybody is aware of. And they're making those payments, and everything seems to be going along good. They're even surviving COVID. Hopefully it'll get better, but it is what it is. And also, we worked with them to secure the $1 million funding between Swift Mud and the club and the city to redo the irrigation system, which it's been a tough haul, but it's starting to pay rewards, and I think it's going to get back to the turf level that it's always been, and that'll help when we come to the video. Other things that we work on is like Career Source of Tampa Bay. I don't know if anybody's noticed there's been an increase in the number of job opportunities and job fairs and so forth throughout the city. Wow, that's quick. But it helps all of our residents. If you're looking for a job, Career Source will do it. And then finally, we have the school support committee, which works with all of our schools. This year alone, we've issued $15,000 worth of grants to the teachers, not to the school, but to the teachers so that they can do these special projects that will help to improve the educational quality within our region, our city schools. And then last but not least, but probably the biggest, is HART. As the mayor had indicated, I serve as the secretary to the HART Board of Directors and Finance and Audit Committee and Strategic Planning. Well, most people don't realize we have 3 bus lines that run through Temple Terrace, and everybody took a beating during COVID. It's starting to come back slowly, but it's not back to where it needs to be. So there's been some reduction in services and so forth. But as businesses improve and businesses start hiring again, we need people to have transportation, a reliable, effective transportation to come into the city. We're meeting with the CEO, the new CEO of HART, in about 2 weeks, I think it is, Mr. City Manager, to discuss the expansion of the redevelopment downtown, because we want to get a special bus line that'll go between USF and then maybe downtown. We have to wait and see what's possible. Not to mention the Amazon employees. They need to be able to get to work. We have the redevelopment out on 78th Street, 78th and Temple Terrace Highway. I'm not sure, I don't remember the name of that. And then even just outside of our borders, in our service area, we have the new area up by the old Big Top Flea Market. There's going to be a whole slew of houses. So there's a lot of things that goes on behind the scene that, unless it's something bad in the paper, nobody ever hears about. But your council's trying to do as much as we can, and there's an awful lot of good things going on for the city. So thank you.
I want to talk about a lot of the leisure opportunities that we have in the city. Hopefully during the COVID you got outside enough and used some of them. But of course we have our jewel, the Family Recreation Complex up the road, 2 indoor basketball courts, pickleball courts, tennis, 5 swimming pools, a water slide. But that facility is also home to Focus Cafe, which helps with the school, and also a swim team on that. And it has a new playground, and it's been renovated. Mr. Langfeld's done a very good job with that project. This building, the Lightfoot Recreation Center, in the day it's our senior citizen facility. But at night it does other things. We have ceramics, we have different art classes, and this room is table tennis on usually Tuesday nights. So it's a lot of activities going on here. And for the seniors, we also, with an agreement with Hillsborough County, the SNAP program, provide lunches to the seniors and the surrounding community. And that's been shut down with COVID, but it's opening back up. In our city, we have 14 neighborhood parks. Bonnie Bray, Biltmore are our 2 oldest parks, and others around our city. We have 3 nature parks, big ones, a lot of acreage, West River, Riverfront Preserve, and Scout Park. We have different ball fields. Ridgedale, the baseball fields on Ridgedale Road is home to Temple Terrace Little League. We have the Youth Sports Complex on 301, and that's home to Temple Terrace Youth Soccer. And at the Family Recreation Complex are soccer fields, but softball fields, 1 newly done to help with buddy baseball as a nice adaptive field for a buddy baseball program. And we have our library. Even though our library is part of the county system, it is a standalone library staffed with our staff. And besides the books, there's a lot of computers and a wonderful staff to help people use those computers. There's my 5 minutes, 10 minutes already? Thank you. Almost done. Anyway, the library has been reopening longer hours, and I understand in a couple weeks the Book Nook, which is run by the Friends organization to help fund the library, that's opening up in a couple weeks, so that's going to be good. Not run by the city, but part of our city is the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club. And of course there's golf, but there's also food, beverages, there's also special events held there, and it's an event venue that you can rent. And it's also home to what I think is one of the best junior golf programs in the area. In fact, it's won an award for Central Florida. It's a very good program. And I just found this out not too long ago. It's also home to what I think is the longest running organization in Temple Terrace, and that's the Women's Golf Association. So, and past president Sandy Alpaw is out there. I think that started in 1938. So that's amazing. Also, city building, Woodmont Clubhouse. It's run by an organization of the clubs, and that's done, that's an event rental facility also. A lot of weddings are done there and meetings. And I mentioned clubs, so every one of you should be involved with some kind of club in our city. We have the Junior Women's Club, the Women's Club, the Garden Club, which is celebrating their 75th year of operation, and the Arts Council, which is really not a club, but puts on a lot of activities and events. And speaking of that, I'm closed with our special events. In 2 days, we have the 4th of July celebrated on the 3rd. So I want to see everybody either in the parade at 10 o'clock or along the parade route, cheering us on, rain or shine. I know at a previous council meeting, the city manager promised to have good weather, but I don't know if he could do that. Then events on the fairway at 6 o'clock. Events on the fairway at 6 o'clock and fireworks at 9:15. In October, the city does its fall festival, and that's at the Family Recreation Complex. November is the Arts Festival at Woodmont Park. And again, the city does Winter Wonderland in December at Woodmont. And last but not least, these are the newest edition of the playbook. They're in the lobby. Pick them up on your way out. It has all this information. And I want to thank you all the city staff in the back for helping us get through COVID and all the people that volunteered with the different clubs. Thank you.
Good evening. So one of the things that I've always really loved about Temple Terrace is that it is a great place to raise kids. And I'm always looking for activities for my 9-year-old. And this year, Temple Terrace has been so adaptive and has delivered some really great programs. The Rec Center has provided its regular offerings, including their swim lessons, basketball, the summer youth program. They also have camps for tennis and gymnastics that are weekly. And they're either full day or half day. But if you want your child or your grandchild to sign up for those, they've been so popular that there's very few openings left. So I'm really proud to report that they've been so successful this year. In addition to that, the library has really gone above and beyond, and they've really struck a nice balance of being able to keep kids engaged and also socially distanced. They've provided these virtual crafts that you can pick up, and they're take and make kits. And they also have, this week in particular, they might have some left, they had 4th of July fans that you could create and design, available for all ages. And if you come to the parade, which we all hope you do, it's really hot, so you might want something to help keep yourself cool. Also, they have a virtual teen and tween comic book club, and they have summer raffles. So if you do a take and make kit, or you participate in book club, or if you complete a reading log, you get to enter to win something. So I think that's a really great motivator to keep kids reading over the summer. And in fact, we're the only library that's doing in-person reading logs, meaning an actual piece of paper where kids can record their reading. And for the littler kids, the elementary age kids, they can get a sticker, and they can hang this on the kind of the wall of fame in the library. And on top of that, they can get a Dairy Queen ice cream coupon and some other prize. Oh yeah, there's books. So a patron has made a really generous donation to the Temple Terrace Public Library so that there could be rewards, prizes for all the kids who participate. And you know, to me, that really just speaks to the dedication of the community, that someone would make such a generous donation so that we could continue these programs, and not just continue them, but to go above and beyond. And just to wrap up, they also have story time for kids in the park. And virtually through Hillsborough County Public Libraries, they have Beanstalk, where you could also submit your reading and win prizes, even if you're, you know, much older than typical ages for that. But in-person activities are going to resume in August, and I would just like to really make a shout out to our leisure services and everyone who has made it so we can continue to stay active and stay engaged, even if we're not in person for a lot of things. So, thank you very much.
So we have plenty of time for the number of people here. We have to wrap the public dialogue portion up at 7:45 so that we can say our brief closing remarks and be out of here by 8. So we got a lot of time. So we're very fluid here. We want to hear from you, and we want to have some candid dialogue. There are only a couple things I ask of you, but they're important. One is that you can make your comments from standing at your seat. You don't have to leave, but it is important that you speak into the microphone that Mr. Woodard will bring you, and state your name at the beginning before you start talking. And make sure that you state your name clearly, because the city clerk needs to have this in the minutes. And so it's very important that she's able to understand your name on the recording when she goes to make the minutes later. It's also important that the camera, those watching at home later on YouTube, are able to hear your comments. So please wait for Kevin to bring you the microphone to be recognized, and I promise you everybody will be heard. If we run out of time at 7:45, I will stay, I promise. I'll be here as long as it takes. I'll hear you, I promise, okay? So, I only have one pink slip, which is okay, as long as hopefully there's more people that have questions than that. But Mrs. Tumbleson, welcome, Jan. It's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. Jan Tumbleson. I appreciate the information you gave me on the budget. This is one reason I came here tonight, to have the information that you have given us. There are so many things that go on in the city that we, the residents, do not know about. But I'm a nosy Rosie. So I ask questions all the time and find out answers. So thank you again. I want to thank the department heads for all of y'all's work. I appreciate it. And if I have any problems, you know I come to you first. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Tumbleson. Mr. Snelling, good to see you, sir.
It's good to be here. I need to stand. Okay. Bill Snelling. I just had a transportation question for you, Mr. Mayor. I've had several people in the community ask about the possible ramifications of traffic for the Amazon distribution center, and I was just curious about your opinion on the possible impact, and also if any of the transportation enhancements that you discussed earlier might be directed towards helping with the possible transportation problems.
Sure. I'll respond shortly, and then if you guys are free to jump in too. So that's a good question. Thanks for asking. So there's two components to the additional traffic. Will there be additional traffic? Yeah, I'm sure there will. But it's two different traffic issues. One is the trucks, the deliveries in, the deliveries out. The truck traffic for the Amazon project should be almost invisible to Temple Terrace, because the Davis Road extension that they built to go from Harney out to 301 is the truck route in and out of the facility. So the truck traffic, the freight in and out of there should be negligible. It should be non-existent, right? So we shouldn't see any increase from that. Now, there's the question of employees. The car trips, the employee traffic in and out. Will there be an increase? Probably. I don't know where everybody, how many of them will come from the west and how many of them will, I don't know where they'll live. Depending on where they live, they could take I-4 to 301 and come in that way, and we wouldn't ever see them. But if they live west of us along the Bush Boulevard, then I would expect we would see some increased traffic from that. If they live north of us in Pasco, then obviously they would come down 301. So I don't know that anybody has a real good handle other than the number of employees, but who knows where they all are going to live. I don't know. I think Mr. Sisler's point about the Heart line and seeing what we can do there is an important piece of this also. But that's about all I can tell you. I don't know if anybody has any other. Mr. Chambers.
And I just wanted to say, increased traffic to some extent isn't that bad. And what I mean by that is I'm hoping that some of those employees that the mayor talked about will come to our city, eat at our restaurants, help generate businesses at our businesses. So we want people, hopefully some of them move into the new apartments and buy homes here and, become nice residents. But hopefully we get some traffic into our businesses and restaurants.
As far as the truck traffic, that's we don't anticipate anything coming up like Bush Boulevard. All the traffic's going to be between like up and down 301 and towards I-75. Is that
Yes,
the plan?
yes. And let me add on to that. That really goes beyond your question, but it's, since we're talking about that Davis Road extension, folks, that Davis Road extension is almost as important to the city as the Amazon facility itself. Let me tell you why. That costs about $3 million or so to construct that piece of road. We didn't have the money to do that. And truthfully, without Amazon, there wasn't a big reason to do it anyway. There's not a lot, who would take it? There wasn't a reason to put a road there. What that road does for us, though, is enables our fire department to respond to that section of 301 within the response times necessary to maintain their accreditation. Their fire accreditation was the chokehold for us going wide out annexation along 301 in that area. Because if we couldn't respond within the parameters of the response time required by accreditation, our fire department jeopardizes their accreditation and our homeowners insurance goes up. So we had to be very surgical with how much we could annex in that 301 industrial park in that area. 301 is growing like crazy. That corridor is on fire. This road enables us to annex more aggressively along that corridor, which is good for all of us because it's light industrial, it's manufacturing, it's commercial, which doesn't take a lot of city services but pays a lot of taxes. So that corridor is vital to us. And this Amazon project, that road, that $3 million road, opened up a lot of possibilities. Now, I will tell you, if we go crazy out there with annexation, which we may do, I mean, if the math works out the way I hope it to, we're going to be coming to the public here in a few years and need a third fire station because there's only so many. That road's only going to go carry us so far. But I will tell you, that's a good problem to have. If it cost us $5 million to build a fire station because we need it, because we're going along that corridor, that's a good problem to have. So a little beyond your traffic question, but we got on the Davis Road thing. So
Good evening. Linda Reynolds. I would like to ask the question having to do with leisure services. With COVID winding down, I've been told that bridge at the library and Mahjong and here as well would not resume until August, as the lady mentioned earlier here tonight. And I wonder if there's any reason or way we could get it to, get it resumed before then, because we have the whole summer ahead of us.
Try to answer that, even though I don't know those dates. I speak on leisure services because that's what I used to do. But the gentleman that's currently running leisure services is Mr. Langfeld, sitting over there to your left, and he has all those details. Carl, stand up a minute so they see you. I don't know if you want to talk. Right. But there's a lot of different parameters to open up totally. And a lot of it has to do with city safety and CDC guidelines protocol, and he knows those answers much better than I do. Sorry I couldn't, but Carl knows.
David Pogorlich, you had mentioned earlier about the 14% rise in tipping fees for the trash. Question, is Falkenberg our only option for dumping the trash? Do we have other options that we could explore? I know burning is probably the best option, but do we have other options that we can explore? And since I have the mic, I'd just like to real quickly say that myself and others have, with the help of the city, have started what we call the Temple Terrace Business Alliance to help fill the void that is kind of being left because the Temple Terrace Chamber of Commerce has expanded their reach, and our hope is to not take the place of the Uptown Chamber, but to kind of partner with them and provide services and help to help the businesses that are here and help bring in the new businesses that the Temple Terrace citizens want and need. And our next meeting is August 18th at 7:30 a.m. at the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club.
I know the answer to that. The incinerators where our household garbage goes now. That is the best option for a couple of reasons. One is we don't contribute to the landfill, so that's a good thing. But beyond that, it's mathematically it's the best option too, because for us to drive our trucks to the landfill, by the time you factor in the fuel and the time that they're out of the city dumping, if you add all that up, it's more cost effective to go to the incinerator. Even though the incinerator costs more tipping fees than the landfill, it's cheaper because it's closer and our trucks don't have to drive as far. We don't have to pay our drivers to drive as far. So it's a cheaper proposition. So the city, at least as far as I know, the councils, tell me if I'm wrong, the administration and I think the council feels at this time that we should stick with the incinerator, that's the most cost-effective option. It's the least environmentally detrimental option. There's really no option that seems better at this time. Does that cover it? Anybody want to add to that?
When a truck is out tipping, it's not in service. So the length of time that it takes to go to the landfill and then back again, it's almost double the driving distance from down to Falkenberg Road. So the out of service creates its own lost opportunity costs and so forth. So it is the cheapest way to do it at this point.
So I'd like to tag on to the second portion of Mr. Pogorelich's comment. I'm happy to hear that, and I want the listening audience to know that the Business Alliance and the Chamber of Commerce are partners. We've all come to expect a lot out of our Chamber of Commerce, and when they changed their name from the Temple Terrace Chamber of Commerce to the Uptown Chamber of Commerce, it wasn't to abandon Temple Terrace. In fact, it was to increase the opportunities for the businesses who are here to work with businesses in the upcoming and rapidly growing Uptown area, which was formerly called University Mall and the surrounding area. So don't give up on the chamber, and obviously you should check out the Business Alliance because they're all doing the same thing. They're connecting the businesses to each other, and they're strengthening that connection with our citizens. So thanks for bringing that up.
Information with us. I'm Barbara Sparks McGlinchey, and I'd like to first second what Sherry just said. The chamber is here for you, and the change of the name does not diminish what they're doing for the city of Temple Terrace. They just expanded within their name. We were always the Greater Temple Terrace Chamber, so therefore we encompassed the other areas that now are within the name. But secondly, my question is tonight, can you tell us how we're promoting, I love the building that's going on in downtown. How are we promoting those apartments to outside entities to come in to live within our wonderful city?
I alluded to at the beginning that I'm on the Tourism Development Council. It's one of many councils I'm on, and I do work with Visit Tampa Bay to try to get Temple Terrace included in some of the Tampa Bay area, right? Temple Terrace doesn't succeed in a vacuum. When what's good for Tampa is good for Temple Terrace, what's good for Hillsborough County, we all succeed together. And so I work very hard to try to network with our regional partners to try to be part of our Super Bowl victories and our, to be a part of that. Sometimes more successfully than others. I wish that we had more of a marketing budget than we do. I would like very much to be able to do more aggressive marketing in states like New York and some of the others, New Jersey, where the tax burden is becoming so high that a lot of businesses are leaving and they're looking for places to go, and they're going to Florida. They're going to North Carolina, they're going to South Carolina, they're going to Texas, they're going to, there's about 5 states where they're going. Florida's one of them. But I would really like to market, for instance, telecom more aggressively than we are. The difficulty we have with that is that while our budget seems big to us, compared to Tampa's and Hillsborough's and St. Pete's, it's not as big as we think it is. And some of those ads, video ads and so forth, are tens of thousands of dollars. And to do a full color brochure and to do surgical marketing, our marketing department, Lori Hayes and Nathan, do a great job with the tools that we give them. And unfortunately, we don't have the budget that Tampa does, or Hillsborough, which circles me right back to where I started and why it's so important for us to be plugged into Visit Tampa Bay, the TDC, and those networks, because if we just go it on our own, we can't compete. We've got to get to Visit Tampa Bay to help us promote telecom, to help us promote our historic golf course, to help people come, to bring people here. We are not primarily a tourism city. We just don't, I mean, we're close to Busch Gardens, but we're not a conference city like Tampa. We're not really a tourism city like Orlando. We have strengths, but that's not really it. We don't have a lot of tourism unless we annex Busch Gardens. But we do have telecom. We do have, hopefully, more pieces of the 301 corridor. We've got a lot of room for corporate growth here. The other marketing angle that I that I work very hard on is I think we need to strengthen our reputation as the residential community for USF and Moffett, because there's a lot of growth going on at USF, Moffett, Uptown, and those are bringing in professionals that have disposable income. They have these, and we're perfectly suited for that, right? Particularly if we can get these multimodal connections to USF, to Moffett, to Uptown, we are perfectly suited. And we can kick, hope Mayor Castor's not watching, we can kick Tampa's butt with this. We can kick Wesley Chapel's butt with this because we're close. You try driving to USF from Wesley Chapel, and I'll sell you a house in Temple Terrace the next day, right? But to your point, Barbara, we need to, there's an opportunity here for us to promote that we are I liked our old slogan, honestly, a city for living, right? And that's perfect, right? Come to USF, go to work at Moffett, they're growing like crazy, and this is the place to live, right? You can eat around the world, you can go to the golf, I mean, we have so many amenities, but it all works together. That's why these trails and stuff are so important. It's not just, oh, they're trying to build a trail, big deal, I don't ride a bike anyway. No. The point is that these young professionals that are coming here, it's important to them. When they're looking for a community to buy in, they look at schools, they look at trails, they look at multimodal options, they look at those kinds of things. And that's what we need to focus on. I got off track, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Schuster.
Something else we got to keep in mind, we're building the infrastructure, i.e. with the intermodal, we're putting it out there that we are where you want to live, okay? But keep in mind that we don't own those properties anymore. Those have been sold. They're owned by different corporations who are investing tons and tons of money into these endeavors, that they have investors that they need to respond to, and they're going to be doing their own marketing. We can only supply the infrastructure to get them and take care of them while they're here. We don't own the property, so it's difficult for us to say, come live in these apartments. The owners of the apartments are going to be doing that. They have such an investment, their marketing plan they're confident with their marketing plan to get the properties rented and occupied. And we have to rely upon that to a degree. We just got to give them everything that we can give them to make it the region that they want to be in. And I think that, as the mayor has said, we're doing what we can with that.
I was looking through the USF graduate, it's like the guide that they give out to graduate students. And they have a lot of information that are useful for people who are moving to the area to go to USF. And they had a few pages that highlighted different regions that you could live in. And they talk about Brandon, they talk about Wesley Chapel, they talk about South Tampa. They don't even mention Temple Terrace. And we were like rubbing elbows with USF, and when I noticed that, I sent Mr. Stevenson an email and I asked him, could we reach out to USF and ask them, could we have a little blurb about Temple Terrace and especially those apartments, so that we could get graduate student types in those apartments. So I appreciate you for bringing it up, and I'm happy to hear the mayor say as well that he's looking to get those people in there. So thank you.
Well, we've been inviting people to Temple Terrace for 48 years, and that's called the annual Temple Terrace Arts and Crafts Festival. And then recently, 5 years ago, we invited them here to come out here and have a craft beer. You know, like, oh my goodness, wow, what have we done? But when the Rotary decided to have that event, and they partnered with the city the first year to pull that off, the whole point was that we could have a party here. We have our own events here, and we rely on our citizens. But what can we do to bring people out here? And one of the things that we heard over and over and over again from the sponsors was that people were saying to them, I didn't know. I had no idea that the city had so many trees, that it was so beautiful, that I didn't know about the golf course. You know, the Yingling, if you've driven by Yingling recently, you'll see that they're building a hotel. We need to connect our golf course. We need to let them know that their hotel has a golf course that they can connect their patrons to. That when somebody signs up to go there, they're not just going there for Busch Gardens. Let's throw in a golf package. I mean, those are the things that we have to do. We have to start looking outside of Temple Terrace in order to get people to look at us. And, you know, just recently I went to Lutz for a dinner party, and I've driven past the main drag on Lutz my whole life. But we went back into this little sweet neighborhood. I'd never seen such beautiful, old, historic homes. Didn't even know they were back there. And that's what people say about us, because all they see is 56 or Fowler. So how do we get them in here? We can advertise, but when a business sponsors an event like the Brew Fest, which is coming up, by the way, talking about plugs, April 30th, 2022, when people sponsor those things, they're doing more than just talking about Temple Terrace. They're actually bringing outsiders into Temple Terrace, even if it's just for an evening or for a day at the Arts Festival. So let's keep promoting those things. We need, again, as I said before, we need all of you to be part of the Army and talk to people and invite them to come to anything that you can invite them to in the city so they can see for themselves. As you said, I loved our tag when it was a city for living. That's exactly what we are. So
I have two items to speak to this. One is, what are we doing as a partnership? I recognize that funds are limited, but it seems to me that we could have some sort of outreach to not just the realtors within Temple Terrace, but the realtors in the greater Tampa area, and really connect with them and talk to them about the benefits of living here. And that could be done as a joint partnership between our local chamber and city officials, et cetera, and realtors that live in the area. And second, when we talk about a city for living, you know what I'm going to bring up. And that is the first thing that every young family thinks about are the schools. And again, any of you who know me know that my children were at Lewis, Greco, and King. And Greco has an abysmal track record with school grades. Temple Terrace Elementary also has terrible school grades. River Hills is choice only at this time. Lewis Elementary is fluctuating and has its struggles. And King High School, on paper, looks like it is struggling. So again, to be very clear, my children have attended these schools. Greco was a D. My 4 children have been there. So I'm not saying that you can't get a good education at a school that's showing a less than perfect grade, but when people look at it, when they're looking at the area, they see the grade, they go to New Tampa, or they go to Tampa somewhere else. That is a huge huge barrier to bringing young families in. So, those are my two things. You don't need a huge marketing budget to reach out with realtors, and as a city, what are we doing to pressure the school district to give us some improvements?
One is, you're absolutely right about both of them. I agree completely. Let me start with the realtors. I too recognized that when new staff, coaches, athletic coaches, new people came to USF, because I'm kind of plugged into USF, I know that the realtors have been taking them elsewhere. And I know that not anecdotally, I know that for a fact because I know the realtor who's doing that. And so I spoke to this realtor and said, what's the deal? And there's a long story that goes there I won't go into, but I have contacted and have had regular meetings with not just Temple Terrace realtors, but the Greater Tampa Bay Area Realtors Association. If I got it right, that's a long name. I think that's it. The Greater Tampa Bay Area Realtors Association. And I met with a couple of their elected annual president or whatever, and they connected me with the realtor that they thought would be the best for me, because she happened to have grown up in Temple Terrace and her family still lives here. So I meet with her about every month and go over how's our market compared to the other, how many days on market, what's our selling price, well, what can we do to kind of, and oftentimes so I'm having that conversation on a regular basis, not just with Temple Terrace, but with the Realtors Association. The conversation inevitably goes back to your second item, and that is the schools. And you're absolutely right. The schools, or public schools, may not be the only thing, but they're one of the top things that people look at. And our homes that we have here tend to be larger family style homes. They're 3, 4, 5 bedroom homes. There's exceptions, but most of our homes are meant for families. That's who's looking. And you're absolutely right. When they look at the schools and they see our schools, that's not a big selling point. The schools are a tough nugget to crack, and I will openly admit to you that you probably know more details about this problem than I do, because I know this has been a passion of yours for many years. The schools have been difficult to crack since I've been in office as mayor because of the COVID. They didn't want anybody in the schools. They really didn't want you there. And two, all the financial difficulties and the new superintendent coming in, it was very difficult to get their attention about, hey, what can we do? And they're like, we're just trying to keep the lights on, So it's been a difficult year to get their attention. I do have standing meetings bi-monthly now with Addison Davis, the school superintendent. We have worked out a schedule going through next year whereby we are meeting every other month. My intent is, and I have not done this yet, is to go to the school support committee, including you, and ask you guys who are on that committee and know more about this than I do, what are the things that I should be saying to the school superintendent? What should I be pushing him to do for our city? And I will honestly confess to you, I know many things about city business. This is not the thing I know the most about. I'm going to be relying on you and others to help prepare me for what I need to be saying to him. So thank you for all your advocacy on this issue, because it's needed. And I don't know. I've heard you talk about the problem we have because we're split with 2 school board. I've heard that. I never dawned on me until I heard you say that at another meeting. And I'm not sure how that gets. I don't if it's a population. I'm not sure how the districts are drawn. So thank you for bringing it up. It's something that I need. I will have an opportunity to meet with him on a bi-monthly basis. So others, yes. Okay.
Sure.
No, you got it.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, Allison, that's we've talked about this, you and I ad nauseum, this whole issue. And as Andy said, it's a very difficult issue to address. The city's been trying to address this for probably close to 30 years now. Three of us in this room sat on the initial school improvement task force back in 1995. At least three. I only see three, but anyway, we've been trying since then. The old King cluster, and then they were trying to do all kinds of nickels and dime stuff. This is their third superintendent in 5 years now, in that range. Not to mention the financial issues. The place is the district's in turmoil. Okay, is there a quick fix? No. We all know that. We have whether it's we don't have the right teachers, whether there's we don't pay the teachers enough, or is it the fact that the kids didn't have a chance to eat dinner last night, so they're not focused today and tomorrow, and the ones that are struggling financially in our area. It makes it difficult to learn. So you ask the teachers, well, it's the makeup of the student population. You ask the principals, it's a whole different set of issues. So one thing that the school support committee finally has done has finally been assigned a new liaison. 2 years ago, they were successful, and the city was successful in having all of our kids assigned to Greco. At one point in time, they went to two separate middle schools. If you lived on the east side of the river, you went to a different middle school, regardless of which. You didn't live in the city. You lived in the city, you'd go to Greco. No, they were going to another middle school. We got that fixed. One of the things that we've started to focus on is to get everybody in Temple Terrace schools for elementary. Okay. At this point, there's some elementary students who are not going to a Temple Terrace school. So, and the fact that we have River Hills muddies the water a little bit because it's a school of choice and kids can come from another area. We have 3 charter schools within the city, or 2 in the city and 1 outside the city, that one just had their charter revoked for essentially no good reason. So anyway, there's a lot of issues that come into play here. It's recognized that the impact on people wanting to move in here, which indirectly impacts our property values and so forth. It's a problem, but it's one that we're aware of. We're working with the powers that be to at least listen to us. That's something that we weren't able to do for years and years and years. They would come, pay lip service. Greco came to a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of got in trouble with it because their highlight was, well, our rate of suspension is down 60%. What do you mean our rate of suspension? What are your grades? So anyway, but I got off track. But that's we're working on it. We're doing what we can. If everybody's got any better ideas, let us know.
Well, I am currently at Greco Middle School, and they have a new principal, and they have a new program, and they're working. Their grades have not remained a D, and they really were brought up quite a bit with that change. When we changed and made sure that all of our kids were in one school, it definitely changed. And keeping kids in a neighborhood school and all that goes with it, all the good feeling of being in your neighborhood school, of knowing the kids that you're going to school with, all those things definitely come into play. But one of the things that we asked for, the PTA asked for specifically when we were looking at hiring a new principal at Greco, was that we did not want someone who was learning to be a principal on our school. We needed a seasoned principal, somebody who knew how to turn around a school, somebody who knew how to create that family. And let's face it, you think back to your school when you were a kid, it was a big family, right? You didn't go to school because you were learning. You went to school because you wanted to be with your family, your friends, your brother's friends, your sister's friends. And that's what we're trying to do at Greco. And the same thing applies to Lewis. And I don't know why you think that Lewis is struggling. They seem to be doing fine. And River Hills is definitely doing great. And from what I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that Temple Terrace residents had first choice in getting into River Hills. So it is a choice school, but it's also one that focuses on our kids. So all we can do, each of us, if you're looking for a way to help the schools, is to join their SAC committees, which they desperately need community folks to hear what's going on, to hear the struggles they have, and to hear their accomplishments. Because if all we ever hear is, oh, schools everywhere, all over the United States are struggling, at least in our county, we're not the only area that is having to deal with children who are hungry. And the philosophy at Greco and at Temple Terrace, and I believe at the School Support Committee, has always been, when your kids are in our schools, we don't really care where they come from. They're our kids, and we're here to help them learn. So it's an ongoing battle. It truly is, and it's not something that we can solve, but I'm really proud to know that we are still offering the help and the support from the school support committee, as well as our dollars. Your tax dollars are going into those grants to help those schools. So all we can do is keep working at it, folks. All my grandchildren are in the Greco and now Tampa Bay Tech next year, and at Lewis Elementary. So I have skin in the game. It's called grandkids, skid.
My understanding as a teacher of school boundaries is that they're drawn based on where the kids are. And I don't know if for a while in Temple Terrace the kids just weren't here or weren't going to local schools, but we had an absence of students in this area, so we had to expand the boundaries to where the kids were. And we might want to attract families here now, and it's harder now because maybe the grades have dropped. That's not to underscore the fact that the schools work very hard and do a very good job with the populations that they do have. And my daughter goes to Lewis, and I'm very pleased with it. But it's not just a matter of pressuring the district to change the boundaries for us, because we would have empty schools, or not empty, but not full schools. So it's definitely a challenge, and I appreciate the struggle for that. That's all.
One of the city council goals for this budget year coming up was to increase the funding to the school support committee, which administers grants to the different schools. And that's currently proposed in the budget, and I can't promise it's going to stay there, but it's a substantial increase to the grant program, which helps the schools. And one other thing all of us can do, I talked about involvement with the clubs, but all the schools have, besides the PTSA and other than that, example, I'm on the board of directors of King High Alumni Association, and they provide a lot of dollars and support to King High School, which really helps. We need a lot more members. There's a lot of good King High graduates in the area that support it, but you don't have to be a King High graduate. Just help us out. But all the schools have those committees.
Hi, I'm Sheila Powers. My question is about the water rate increases. Now, I understand that that's not something that you guys have done. It's sort of a pass-through from Tampa, but has Tampa provided you with a reason for the rate increase?
I don't know if Tampa's given us a full justification for that. I know that Tampa has a lot of infrastructure projects on their horizon, new water treatment plants, new facilities and structures to replenish fresh water to the lower Hillsborough River. I know they have a lot of infrastructure projects planned, specifically dollar per dollar why the need for 5% for 20 years. I don't know the answer to that. That I do not know. I don't know what the discussion was at the council level for them to commit to such an aggressive plan to increase. I do not know. And they, typically they don't tell us. I mean, they just, after it's decided, they tell us, guess what? This is what we decided. And so I don't know that I have a really good answer for that. Mr. LeBlanc, do you have anything further? I don't know that we know, do we? Oh, I'm sorry, Troy.
My name is Troy Tinch. I'm the Public Works Utilities Director for the city. So as the mayor alluded, there are a lot of infrastructure projects that the city is taking on, the city of Tampa. They're improving their facilities to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. And that rate increase is not just the city of Temple Terrace, it's the city of Tampa as well. So it extends to all of the customers within their customer base. So it's not just focused on the city of Temple Terrace, but we are a customer of the city of Tampa. We're actually their biggest customer. But we will be paying the increase the same as every resident in the city's jurisdictional boundary or within their service area. So, long and short of it is, it really is going to cover those infrastructure improvement projects to the existing facilities. They're old, they have not been improved in a number of years. Things are growing rapidly, so the city needs to keep up with that pace. And they've laid out a 20-year plan. They have a significant number of projects on the horizon. And again, we're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars of increases. And it's going to benefit the city from the standpoint of some of the projects that they're looking to implement will help potentially the city, in that they could augment the lower half of the river, which would affect us as a whole. In addition, it's going to be a better environment to live in. The Hillsborough Bay, where it flows out currently out of the Howard F. Kern, you're going to see an increase in water quality. So it is a good thing all the way around to do. And so I don't know if that addresses your question.
Now, in listening to you, mainly I kind of withheld talking to you because I wanted to listen to you all. I came in a little bit late, and I wanted to listen to you all, and I wanted to hear what you all had to say, and some of the things that I would know about. But there's one thing that seems to be topping your mind, and that is about the future of the city and the future growth of the city, and trying to put yourself on display into other areas. And I thought of something that I want you all to think about a lot. Really give this some serious thought. The city's 100th anniversary is coming up in 2025. You might say, well, gee, isn't that a long way away? Not so long away. That is an excellent opportunity to put yourself on display, depending upon what you're willing to do, how much community support you can get. That includes the schools, that would include USF, that would include anybody that has what we used to call a North Miami Beach stakeholder within the city. So, I don't know if you want to go big or if you want to go small, but again, your 100th anniversary, Temple Terrace, 1925 to 2025. And I will remind you about one other thing, too, that when they did the bicentennial for this nation, they started the celebrations long before it in 1976. They celebrated, even the coins were dated in 1975, 1976. So that's something that I want you all to keep in mind, really to give your thoughts so that you can have a real chance to display yourself, not only throughout Hillsborough County, but maybe throughout Florida and beyond, depending on what you want to do and all that. And so to think about that. Now, on a couple more routine points. Number one, the library is, I was reading a sign when I went by the library today. I noticed they're accepting donations for books starting Tuesday. So I did want to mention that. And the other thing I have, especially walking up here and all, that I was wondering if you all have any idea about how long it's going to be on White Way and 56th Street. How long that's going to take so we can finally walk without trying to dodge around that again.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Loeb. And your observations about the centennial are good observations. And to answer your question, we want to go big.
Yeah.
Right? And we have already started the planning for centennial events for Temple Terrace for 25. We've already budgeted some funds in anticipation of building that keg of money, not keg, but that bowl,
Sure.
right? And so that we will have funding available when that time comes. We've already started to put some seed money in the budget to build that up. As far as the project at 56th and White Way, that's a county project, a county road. I don't know, but I can find out. In fact, we will see if I can get you an answer before the end of the evening, but I don't. No, that's a county part of the road, isn't it? What's that? Oh, it is. Okay, I thought that stopped it before that point. Okay, so that's a Department of Transportation project. So I don't know the timetable on that. It looks to me like they're winding down, but I don't really know the timetable. So I think we had one up front before you, Mrs. Snelling. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
It's about the centennial. And Temple Terrace City in 1925 founded, and I know we're moving forward with that committee. But before that, the reason the city existed was the golf course started in 1922, which is next year. And the golf course has been already planning and had kickoff events for its centennial party, which will be sometime in November of next year. You know, golf course, whether you're a member or not, your residents support that. That's why the city was founded. The city was built around the golf course. We need to support them. So when those activities happen, some will be open to just members, but most will be open to everybody. So come out and support that. And then 3 years later, you know, our big party with a big cake, I guess.
Well, this is awesome that we're all getting together and having the town hall meetings. I want to tell you all how much I appreciate everything you've done over the pandemic, and also all our departments, the fire, police, recreation, water, sanitation. Everyone was so great over all that time to be flexible and do what they needed to do. I had a comment what Sheila was saying. When we hear these things that we're going to have our water fees up and the sanitation, you know, and it's like beyond our control. So it's the city doing it in the county. But I would like to see, I think everyone needs to realize that City of Tampa and Hillsborough County are not just separate entities, and what they do affects us. So we should pay attention to what they're doing. So we should watch or go to the county commission meetings, City of Tampa meetings, because they're making these decisions, and then it's like, okay, we're raising your fees, and then you're gonna be stuck with it. So, and I like the fact that you all are on all these different committees and try to keep up with it. But I just feel like, you know, who's elected for the City Council of Tampa and who's on our county commission affects us. So, and I love all these ideas of getting our city out there and getting people from all around the county to come here. And one of the things is our parade and all the activities on July 3rd. And there's very few anyone else around this county. I don't even know anyone else that's having a parade. So I don't know how much the word is out, but I know people that are not in Temple Terrace are going to be coming here for that. So I think that'll be great so everybody can see all the awesome things that we have.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Hines. I wasn't going to come and say anything. I was just coming to kind of listen, and then I changed my mind. But I wanted to talk about the schools and having new families in, just because I've seen it from experience that when I'm not from here, I'm from New York, and so my husband's born and raised here, and his family actually were homeschooled because they didn't like the school system when they were young. And we moved in, and I was convinced that it was going to get better before our kids got into school. And now we're at that age that they're starting kindergarten, and we won't be sending our kids to the schools in Temple Terrace, unfortunately, because I wasn't happy with them. And I just know that that's not how they are everywhere else. I also have friends from New York and other states that I was trying to get to move down here into Temple Terrace because besides that, you know, we love it. And they came down, they explored, they, you know, looked around, and they decided other places in Florida because they didn't like the school systems, and they have kids that are going to be put in the schools. Also, I have neighbors that are new with new families coming in, and not a single one of them send their kids to the Temple Terrace schools. So it does it's a very big impact on the new people that are coming in. It really is just more than just the new infrastructures and the, you know, new parks and new trails. It really has a large impact on the younger families that are coming in.
Yeah, Bill Snelling again. Just can we get a quick update on the state of the country club? Just like the membership and finances. I know there was a large irrigation project too. Just curious how that.
Okay. Their memberships are growing. Maybe not as quickly as they would like it to grow, but it is growing. COVID was a problem to them because you obviously couldn't have any parties, and their food and beverage aspect took a beating. But they've survived it so far with some of the COVID monies that were available. They just did redid the pool. They've redone obviously the irrigation system. They've been working on the turf, so it's getting better, and people have been complimenting them on the state of the course itself physically. They just replaced the roof on the clubhouse. So as far as maintaining the fixed assets, they've been doing a very good job of that. As far as financial, they're stable. They're the profitability has always been a problem for them, but that's just the nature of the beast. When you go from, what was it, roughly 500 members 25 years ago down to a couple of hundred, it makes it difficult to maintain that. So that's an ongoing problem for them. But by and large, they're making their payments to the city. They're meeting their financial obligations to us via property taxes and the adjusted payment schedules that they've secured over the last 5 or 6 years. So as far as the city's concerned, we're okay with that. And it's just a matter of them maintaining and growing as best they can. They're working hard at it. It looks a lot better than it did before. And the membership is excited about it. I know there's many members here who've been very instrumental on the board through the years. I'm a social member. I'm not a full member. I don't have the time to go play the golf I'd like to do. But in time, I'll take a full golf membership here shortly, I would imagine. But that's the only endorsement I can give it. I think it's worth it. It's a good investment for a resident to be a member if you play, and if you're just a social member, there's a lot of ancillary activities that go on. I.e., Sunday, I believe, is going to be their 4th of July, as well as what they'll be doing on Saturday. My kids are members, and most everybody that in my social circle is at least a social member. They're paying their bills. That's the important thing at this point. It's not an albatross to the city as far as financially, and we have a pretty good working relationship with them that's improved through the years. I hope that answers your question.
And I know that you had the tree giveaway. And as I look around the city, and I've lived here since 1972, we have a lot of older oak trees. And we're getting into storm season, and every year we lose a lot of the older trees. And I know we had the tree giveaway for families or households to plant, but I want to ask you, do we have some sort of long-term replacement plan on the public land, like the parks? If you go to Bonnie Bray Park, we've got these beautiful oak trees, but they are getting older. The golf course, the rough, obviously not the middle. The oak trees are starting to expire, and so I just wonder if there's some sort of long-term plan in the city to start trying to replant as our oak trees are aging.
A long-term plan to replace oak trees? We don't have anything in place like that. I mean, it's kind of a little difficult to anticipate when an older oak tree is going to go down, but we do have sufficient funds to start replacing those trees as they get damaged or get old enough that they need to be removed.
Okay, we have a few minutes, folks, if there's other questions. Now, I know, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, going back to the water and the water increase and the solid waste increase, keep in mind one thing, that dealing, as this council and our budget cycle has been dealing with the staff has become very attuned to the fact that if they have a price increase that they have to come back to us for, they don't just come back and say, hey, sorry, need to raise rates. They really beat their expenses down. What are we doing? Take, for example, with Public Works. There's within the infrastructure, there's flow meters that register how much wastewater we get rid of. And a couple of years ago, how long ago, 2 years ago, or last year, they replaced that meter so that we're having accurate records and accurate accounting now, so that the city of Tampa is no longer fleecing us with, within a couple 100,000 gallons, the thing's not working maybe correctly as it had in the past. They know how much is going through there. So they're doing everything they can to beat down the costs before we have to pass it on. So that I'm a cost accountant by education and experience. We're not just coming back saying, nothing we can do about it. We're beating the price down as best we can, and it'll be at the very end. This is what we got to do in order to keep the funds solvent. And it's not just for now. We're looking 5 years down the road. So what the things that we do now is going to impact down the road. Lakeland just had a 25% increase. We don't want that. Okay, so we're doing the planning now so that we can get ahead of the game and stay ahead of the game. Keep the fund, keep the reserves solvent, keep the reserves adequate, because we have percentages that we're not, while it's not a legal issue, it's a good practice to keep it at a certain percentage so we can buy trucks when we need to. Or if a water main goes down, we have the funding to be able to get in there and fix it without everybody wringing their hands and saying, oh, we got a problem. So just keep that in mind, that the staff and council is doing everything we can to mitigate that and keep it cost effective as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. Now, I know some of you are going to go home and grumble about something that we didn't answer correctly. Or if there's anything on your mind, now's a good time. We're not,
Ms. Tumbleson's ready.
okay, well, saw her hand first, Barbara, and then Mrs. Tumbleson.
Yes. My
Now,
question.
you came alive as soon as I said some of you were going to go home and grumble.
Okay. I want to talk about our utility service area.
Okay.
Now, 301 is expanding rapidly, as we all know. Okay. Are we supplying water and sewer out there, or at least water
To some.
out there?
To some, yeah, to
Okay.
some.
What-
Tampa service area, good question. The service areas for utilities don't necessarily correspond, well, not necessarily, they don't. The service areas for utilities don't correspond with the city limits of a city. So Tampa's service area for utilities, for water, for instance, goes into Hillsborough County at places, it goes into Temple Terrace at places. My neighborhood, I'm on Tampa Water. I'm on City of Tampa Water. Likewise, the Temple Terrace service area for water and sewer often goes across our city lines into unincorporated areas as well. That's pretty typical, and it's also exasperated by the fact that we annex areas that didn't used to be Temple. That's what happened to my neighborhood. It was annexed 20-some years ago, and the utilities, they don't dig them up and transfer them over. You keep, that. So, yes, to answer your question, our utility service area goes outside our city limits to certain areas. Now, where exactly, I'd have to get with Mr. Tinch to get the map. I mean, I don't have that memorized, but yes, we do go outside the service area.
Well, just real briefly, Barbara Sparks McGlinchey again. I want to compliment all the staff, because the city staff has always been very proactive and very responsive. But last year I had to have some trees trimmed, since you've been on the subject of trees, and your arborist was great. I mean, responded the same day, was out there that day, just wonderful, came back when they were trimming the trees, so I just wanted to compliment your arborist.
Thank you. Okay. City manager. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Cindy Coker, and my question is, I'm the president of an HOA here in Temple Terrace, and do we know approximately what time that the increase in the water bills and sanitation are going to occur?
If they occur, well, they likely will. If they occur, it'll be October 1st.
October 1st.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
There's been a lot of topics discussed tonight, and you guys have done a great job answering all the questions. And I just want to reiterate to some of you here, my office is open all day. I take calls directly. If you've got any other questions, you're more than welcome to give me a call. To make sure that we're clear on water and sewer, this young lady who asked that question, we pull our own water and treat our own water. We don't pay Tampa for water. We pay Tampa for wastewater, okay, just to make that clear. And it's paid by the gallon. And there's an agreement that they will take this wastewater from us. So just to make sure you understand, we actually generate our own drinking water, or our own potable water. There's a lot of things have been said, and you guys covered most of the stuff that I wrote down to talk about, and I appreciate that. But I will take this opportunity. You've got about 12 directors in the audience tonight. They've been working all day. They come here to make sure that you guys have somebody to put a face to a name, But I will tell you this: there's 220 other individuals that work for us that through last year and through the COVID situation hung in there. And there are a lot of communities that laid people off, put people on furlough, cut services back. I can tell you this, we never missed a beat. And that is because we've got a good set of directors, and I will take advantage of saying that publicly. They've got great staff that works for them. Everybody showed up for work. Nobody took advantage of a lot of possibilities that the federal government put in place that they could take time off with pay. We had nobody do that. So thank you to my directors. You guys are great. I know that they can pass that on. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
You know, when I started working for the chamber, I had Ann Simmons, whom many of us in this room know Ann, and she's legendary in her involvement in the city. And what she said to me was, just remember, if you don't know what you're doing, someone else in town does. And I took that to heart, okay? And so all of my involvements over the years have been specifically in keeping with our city, and I'm not telling you this because I'm doing this. I'm telling you this because this room is full of people who've been active, like Ann Simmons. They know what's going on, and that's why you're here. So we really do appreciate that you came out tonight. And you know when we really appreciate you is when you come to council meetings, and sometimes your eyebrows cross because you're not quite sure about what we're getting ready to do or say, but at least you know that you can be those people who you know what's going on. You know, it's you know because you pay attention, and I do appreciate that very much. Thank you.
I would like to echo those sentiments. Temple Terrace is a great place. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I know there was other things that you could possibly be doing, that watching paint dry or something like that. But seriously, that was important. But no, seriously, to the staff and to the directors, really is a pleasure working with you guys. You guys are the ultimate professionals, and we as citizens can be very proud that we have the people. And we're not even some of the people here aren't even the top directors. They're the second in command, and they're just as good as their bosses. So that we're very, very blessed. We're very, very lucky with that, and that starts at the top and works its way down to every employee and every associate that we have within the city. Thanks for coming out. You know how to get in touch with us. If you have something that comes up, please come to council or stop us at Publix or walking down the street or whatever. So, but thanks for coming out tonight. This was helpful.
Again, thank you again for coming out. I know this was much better than watching paint dry. I've done that. This was a good evening. We had good interaction. Thank you. Get involved with your community. I mean, everybody here is, so thank you for being involved. Jack, happy birthday again. Thank you for being a long-term resident. You may have a record there. You may have a record. Okay. And last but not least, see everybody Saturday on all the festivities, the parade and festivities. Come on out.
I'd also like to echo that sentiment, thanking you all for your involvement and for being here tonight. Being the newer person on council, I get a lot of people walking up to me and asking me, so, how's council going? And some people are a little bit ominous in their tone, and other people are a lot more like conversational about it. But my go-to answer for everybody is, it's really interesting, and I've learned a lot. And there's a lot more to it than that, though. This is a really complex and challenging job that takes an open mind and a lot of preparation and a high level of engagement. And I'm down. I'm game. And it's been a really great experience so far. My favorite thing is being able to help people And I'm really grateful to have a seat at the table. So thank you.
I too would like to thank the city manager, our city clerk, our city attorney, who I think is here somewhere, and all the directors that are in attendance. Our employees are top notch. And I did 32 years of working in local government, and I can tell you our employees are superb. They're the best. And I'd also like to thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. We didn't know if we'd get 5 people or 500. It was somewhere in between. I'm happy with that. So, and thank you for your support. And I'd like to thank the council too. And you know, I got to tell you, folks, I've been on the council now 5 years, and people come and go. We've had some good councils, we have, but I will tell you, not just because they're sitting up here, I tell you this privately. Most of you I see privately, and I tell you, this is a good council, guys. This is a good council, and it's not a rubber stamp council. And I hear that all the time. Well, you guys need to get on the same page. At the end of our meeting, we're on the same page. But we will argue. We have 5 strong-minded, intelligent people up here that all feel very passionately about this city. And we all come from different walks of life and different perspectives. What makes us a good council is that we respect each other, we listen to each other, we argue with each other, and we let the facts take us where the facts take us rather than our emotions. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a good council. And we have a very good council. I'm very honored to serve on this council. I've been honored to serve on previous councils too for the past 5 years. I mean, this isn't the first time, but I'm very honored to be your mayor. I'm honored to work with my colleagues. This is a great city. We have work to do. We have wastewater to treat and garbage to dump and schools to improve, and we have a lot of work to do, and we're doing it. And this is a process. This is a journey, not the destination. We never arrive. I'll leave you with this. We've all heard the old saying, a rising tide floats all boats, right? Yesterday I heard the rest of that saying. And the rest of that saying is when the tide goes out, you get to see who knew what they were doing and who didn't, right? So our hope is that when this tide goes out, you'll be able to look and say, those guys did a good job. So thank you for coming.
Well said. I like that.